Hello and welcome to this ETS App Development Webinar. My name is Christophe Partoens, so the presenter of this webinar. So here's the agenda. So the different topics that I will address are ETS apps, ETS SDK, how to start with app development, what the procedures are to follow, app validation tool, so I'll explain you the tool that needs to be used in this context, so in order to develop the app as such, but especially to indeed validate it. What costs are related to this? So how much does app development? How much will it cost? I will talk about app revenue, because that's probably also in your case the purpose, unless it's in a free of charge app, of course. But if it's a payable app, then you expect some revenue. So what happens with that, and app reimbursement related to that. And then I will end with the timeline. So the time that is to be expected, the time that it will take in order to bring your first app on the market, so to say. So okay, here ETS apps. Well, just as a general introduction, an app is of course something that we already know from smartphones and tablets. So an app is a little piece of software, or a piece of software that extends the functionality of such a device. So an ETS app is of course here the same principle applies. It is also a piece of software that extends the functionality, but here in this context the functionality of ETS. And as a KNX member, you have the possibility to extend indeed ETS in such a way. So it could be specifically for your needs, or in most of the cases to your customers' needs, of course. Now, okay, anyway, an ETS app, the base is always the so-called ETS SDK, the ETS Software Development Kit, for which as such no license is required. So, about this ETS SDK, an overview of the, let's say, the kind of, what kind of, let's say, data can be accessed, data that can be influenced, data that can be used by an ETS app. So project-related data. So the project is accessible. So project details, project history, project trace. Also the areas of a project, the lines within a project, all are accessible and can be influenced. Devices also, building parts, group addresses. So everything, let's say, more or less everything related to a project, an ETS project, obviously. Product is also accessible, so hardware details can be retrieved, application options like some flags or parameter byte, or as to give you one example, indeed, here mentioned on the slide. Memory segment table, address table, association table, parameters of the device, group objects of the device. If it's an IP device, its IP settings, things like that. Interface objects, so the address table, but then, approached in a different way, so via an interface object, group object table, association table, application program. Things that are related to a common ME server, a file server, if this is on board of the device, of course. The device interface objects as such, of course, and again, if it's an IP device, also the KNXNet IP parameters, so accessible via interface objects, also accessible for an ETS app. Network-related data, like the device descriptor. Here it's limited to getting the information. Device management object is also limited to getting the information, so you cannot set it, that's what I mean actually. Image segment is also accessible. The network management object, so you can, example given, you could scan the domain address, you could scan for individual addresses, ping devices, etc. Property descriptor, also same principle applies. This is also data that you can get but not set. Okay, how to start? So how do you start indeed with app development? So that is actually in 2 steps, or actually 4. It's well, I'll explain in the next coming slides. But there are some prerequisites. So first of all, in order, just even before you even start, you should have installed ETS 5, and you should be licensed. So there's no use to have a demo. You need to have it licensed. ETS Lite would be the minimum, but of course we recommend professional. A development environment, so whatever that is, your choice, as long as it's compatible with the ETS 5 SDK. For the ETS 5 SDK, as said before, as such, no license is required. Then you should get an app development license, and then to get the first application identifier or app ID. The app development license, that means you should become an app developer, but I'll explain this procedure later on. Also, to get the app ID, I also explain this procedure later on. But here is just the overview. So even before you start with your first app, this should be in order. Then second is the cookbook. So the base, so there is a cookbook that has, how to say, that actually, yeah, how can I say, it's an implementation example that the KNX Association has made, and that which is offered to you in the so-called cookbook. Now, the base for this example, for this implementation example, is Visual Studio 2012, and it really gives you a simple example in order to explain a few principles, so that is really enough for you to start. Also, some practical information is there, like where exactly are the ETS SDK folders, where is the ETS app folder, how to test an app, how to debug an app, etc. Then the example that is made is actually built up in 3 levels. So first level is just a really simple thing, like we just put project details in the ETS status bar. In the second level, an about box was added, so an about box for this app, and in the third level, some more controls and some project details are accessed. So yeah, very simple, straightforward example, but enough for you to get started, so that you have an idea, yeah, what is all involved on development level, yeah, what kind of skills or what kind of work you can expect. In general, I can say that there are, of course, some rules to be respected, like the texts that you will put within your app. Well, that is as such, technically, we cannot stop you from putting let's say messages that are actually not really meant to be inappropriate messages, but because of that fact we will check that, of course, manually here. So here we see an example of something that will not be allowed, will not be approved. But simple things like this here, like this on, like the example on this side, is perfectly fine. So as long the messages are neutral and appropriate, no problem. Now, okay, procedures. So how to become an ETS app developer? So what you need to do? Well, first of all, the question is, are you already a KNX member? If the answer is yes, well, then you just need to apply online from your My KNX account. So there is an, if you are a member, you have then this this button here. So under My Applications, so become an ETS app developer, you just click the subscribe button. You're already a member. If the answer is no, well, then you should become a member first, and you can also apply for membership online. The interested party would be the minimum, and at any time you can, of course, upgrade that. So the KNX member information, so KNX membership, sorry, information can be found here. So on this very URL, or you just go to the knx.org and you can find easily your way there. Information is all there. You can apply also from there online for membership. Again, interested party would be the minimum. Okay, what is the procedure? So, well, here, this specific slide, so the procedure to become an ETS app developer. So, you will apply online via the MyKNX server. That will result in the following, that you will get an ETS app member agreement and an ETS app validation tutorial. You need to send the signed agreement to KNX by mail. So that's the regular mail. This will the result of that will be that an ETS app development invoice will be offered to you via your account in the MyKNX server, and you will get indeed an invoice notification of that. Then we expect indeed a payment, and after this payment we get a payment notification, and the result of that will be that we will activate your ETS app validation tool. After this, you will get an ETS app validation tool activation notification. You will reach the status of developer, and together with that, 5 ETS app developer licenses will be added to your account. That means you're indeed then good to go. So this is the procedure, right? Okay. About the app validation tool then. So where is this app validation tool? Well, might be a surprise, but this is also just to be found in your MyKNX account. After, of course, you have reached the status app developer. So after the procedure that I have described just before. So you can see here my account, my ETS apps. So an extra tab there. What are the app validation steps then? So there are 4 steps. First is the automatic validation, so step 1. You need to register and to upload the app. You need to provide all commercial details, and after that you just click Save ETS App Version. Automatic validation step 2 is where the server will check the app and puts its status to passed if everything is indeed okay. So if the server is so the server will, after step 1, start checking the app, and well, in best case, of course, it will put its status to passed. So like here. You can have a look at the test details at any time, and this is then how it would look in case of success. Of course, it's more useful to use this button if it didn't pass. Of course, then you can find out what was wrong. But okay, also when it passed, of course you can check. Manual validation, so that would be step 3, so to say. So manual validation step 1. That is, this will only start if the automatic validation was successful and after your explicit request. So you have to click this request manual validation button here, and yeah, so that's step 3. Step 4 then is the manual validation step 2, and that is where you will be offered to pay the so-called validation invoice. So that means, all by all, the verification of the app by KNX means that the app, so what will be checked is that the app is operational in the latest released ETS version, that everything has been played by the rules, so example given the messages that I have explained before, that the messages are appropriate, and that of course a paid invoice is also will also lead to success, of course. Okay, the app commercialization. So the app is validated, so everything is in order, the invoice is paid, and now what? Well, then it's up to you. Make it visible in the shop, yes or no. You have to choose. From the moment you select visible in the shop, your app will be then offered to potential customers. So your app can be ordered and can be bought. Okay, so selling apps means that you would of course like to have information about these sales activities for your ETS apps. Well, therefore we have foreseen some ETS app sales reports, like customers, so in order to find out who your customers are, what kind of licenses are sold, is it the demo that is successful, is it maybe another version that you have, or what specific app, so any of that information can be found under licenses. So example given, indeed, what is my best selling app? And of course the financial details, so what is now the revenue of all these apps, or one specific app, or whatever. So all that information is there under the financial report. And of course, don't forget that you should specify the details for the contact person in your organization for the reimbursement. About reimbursement I'll explain later in one of the next coming slides. Okay, what about app support? Because of course, since this is a software extension for ETS, it could sooner or later need one of your customers could sooner or later need support, a question or a problem. So how is this then arranged? Well, your customer gets the ETS app support actually via MyKNX, because your customer is actually an ETS customer, and therefore we expect the customer to ask for support for, even if it's your app, to ask for the support via MyKNX. So this is what will happen. The customer will address us via the MyKNX server, so via the MyKNX account. That will the ticket will then be forwarded to us, and we will find out, okay, this is actually app support, so it will be redirected to you. But for the customer, it looks as if it was for the customer it looks as if he opened a ticket or forwarded a ticket to KNX Association. But internally it will be forwarded to you, but this will not be visible for the customer, unless of course you explain to the customer who you are, of course. But the point being is, we think that the principle the principle that we want to apply here is that since it is an ETS customer, the customer should have the right to indeed ask for support via our infrastructure, even if it is your app. It's actually altogether, it's actually support for ETS. Okay, app license types then. So there's a developer license, a test license, and a customer license. And they are, how to say, so the aspect that is taken into account here is whether it's validated or a not validated license. So let's have a look. A developer license. So what is the use case of a developer license? Is actually to test apps that are still under development. This license is dongle based, right? So you can use it for both validated as for not validated apps. A test license, the use case there is to let someone else test the app still under development. So not the developer, but someone else. It's a license that expires after 3 days, but which can be recreated at any time, right? But only valid for 3 days. It runs anywhere, so that means there's no dongle required, and you can only have a test license there's only one per app, right? So if you want to test 3 apps, you have to create 3 different individual test licenses. And then there's the customer, and by the way, test license can be used for both validated apps as for not validated apps. Customer license, or the regular license, is a license that never expires and which is only valid, only applicable, or can only be used for validated apps, right? And is dongle based. Okay, so what are the costs involved for app development? Well, first of all, in case you still need to become a member, well, then there's an annual fee to be paid. That means it's €1,000 for interested party. The app validation tool, sorry, there is a one-off fee, payable fee of €1,000. So now it depends, of course, on your situation. If your company has more than 100 members of staff, then it will cost €3,000 just to get started with app development. If it's maximum 100, so exactly 100 or less, well, then it's €2,000. In case, of course, you opt for interested party. If you want to become KNX manufacturer, then it will cost more. But the details, as I said, can be found on the knx.org. So it's clear. There's a section for membership to be found there. Okay, app validation then. So the app validation as such will also cost money, of course. So there is the initial validation. Sorry, I was a bit too quick. So the initial validation, which will cost €900. So that's an initial validation per ETS app that you want to bring on the market. In case you want to offer an upgrade version of your app, then, and if this upgrade version is a payable version, so typically because of new functionality, well, then the validation of such an app will cost €250. If it's an update, so that means it's a free of charge version of your app, so typically because of bug corrections, well, then its validation costs €25. In case of repackaging, the app will cost, or that specific version will cost €45. Repackaging means that, example given, you want to reassemble features and or limitations. So you just want to repackage it. So then whatever that would be, it is €45 per version that you want to offer in such constellation. Sorry about that. I'll just click this away. Alright, so what's next? Yes, of course, even if the initial validation fails, it will still cost you money. It's €25 per each time. So if you have if you fail 10 times, it will have costed you €250. So that's actually what it means. Okay, app revenue. So if it's a payable app, you will have some app revenue, on best case, of course. And okay, what now? What does this mean? Well, first of all, it means that the reimbursement base is, of course, the payable apps revenue. That means, so concretely, it means that 25% of the list price will go back into the association. So that's in order to maintain our infrastructure for you. And that, well, 75% actually of the, let's say, the list price will be reimbursed to you. However, please note indeed that there is a threshold. So that means even if there is no revenue because you offer a specific app for free, even then you will need to, how to say, even then you will need to pay a minimum contribution in order to maintain our infrastructure. So even so this is even let's say payable for free of charge apps. So I mean apps that you offer to your customers free of charge. Okay, so we just want to be clear on that this is well understood. Okay, but in case there is revenue for you, then there is some reimbursement, of course, involved. So app reimbursement is actually just a specific section under the My Documents tab or section of your KNX account. So here we see an example of reimbursement orders, so listed, right? And by selecting one, you can see the details, like example given, the total amount, when the when the reimbursement order was created, and whether it's reimbursed, yes or no. Okay, then last topic of today is the timeline. So what, okay, the timeline, let's have a look. So at a certain moment you take the decision, yes, I want to start ETS app development. Well, from that moment onwards, it depends of course what is required, but let's look at the so-called worst case scenario. Well, then you first need to become a KNX member. You have to take into account then, from that moment onwards, free to 15 days. After you have become a member, you need to apply for ETS App Developer. This takes another 3 to 5 days. After that, you need to upload and validate the ETS app. Again, another 3 to 5 days. After that, you can start selling your ETS apps immediately. Okay, so that was actually all that I wanted to say. So I have finished talking. Now for the rest of the webinar, I just want to show you some extra slides for further information that could be required, etc. And while doing this, or before showing you these slides, I want to thank you for your presence here. I want to thank you for your attention, and I wish you a nice day. So see you and goodbye, and maybe, hopefully, indeed, in one of my future webinars. Thanks again, see you, and goodbye.